Good evening, and I'd like to call to order and welcome you to our Lucan Biddulph Council meeting for Tuesday, May the 5th. So today is National Day of Awareness and Remembrance for missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirited people. So as I read the land acknowledgement today, we do think of that initiative and the meaning behind May 5th and Red Dress Day. So I would like to acknowledge that I am an ally of Indigenous peoples. The township of Lucan Biddulph is located on the treaty and traditional territory and ancestral lands of many Indigenous peoples and is covered by several Upper Canada treaties. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous peoples who call Lucan Biddulph home. We endeavor to unlearn colonial mindsets and to grow in knowledge. As we build meaningful relationships, we recognize contributions of Indigenous peoples and respect their leadership and partnership in shaping and strengthening our community. We acknowledge historic and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada, and we affirm our commitment to honoring Indigenous voices, nations, and cultures, and to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Okay. We do not have a closed session. We don't have a public meeting. We do have a delegation, except we're just waiting for a couple members to join us. So we're going to continue on with the agenda. And when everybody shows up, then we'll go back to our presentation from the MFA. So moving on to the minutes, we have a set of minutes in front of us from April. And if nothing needs to be amended, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to adopt those minutes as circulated. Councillor Westman and Councillor Hodgins. All in favor? And that is carried. Under the consent agenda, there's a number of items that we have received. I'm going to pull 9.3 and 9.7 for discussion. Was there anything, any other items that council wanted to speak to? Councillor Regan.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I pulled, I think the Parks and Rec activity report, 9.2. And I just, sorry, I wasn't, that happened really quick there. So I'm, I think what I was going to do is, okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to wait. There's a report coming a little bit later, so I'll speak to it then. But that I did wanted to talk to 9.3 if I could. I asked for that to be pulled as well.
Okay. All right. If you wanted to speak to 9.3. Oh, and Councillor Hodgins, sorry.
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also wanted to pull item 9.1 and 9.6, please.
All right. So why don't we start with 9.1?
Okay, thank you. So just had a couple questions on the activity reports. I just wanted to confirm there was this did come up quick. For the wastewater section, RFP for the sanitary master plan has been completed. I just want to confirm where exactly we're at with that RFP. Is that the RFP documents ready and then ready to be posted, or have we, I guess, tendered that RFP and it's ready to be awarded? Just clarify.
Yeah, and through the mayor, that is that RFP is now posted. It went live on Friday. We're hoping to have results back for council in June, so that we can look at getting that process started.
Okay, thank you very much. And there was one other item on this report that I just wanted to ask a question about, and that was in the drainage section. I just see we're still waiting on the MTO for a permit for the boring under Highway 23. Seems like they've had documentation for quite some time, and I'm just wondering, is this going to potentially affect the project or delay the start of that project, or do we see this being resolved in the near future from the MTO?
Yeah, through the mayor. It's an interesting process. There's been a lot of communication back and forth with Spree Associates and the MTO and myself. The good news is we are getting communication through with the MTO and it is moving forward. We have been directly dealing with the representative and we're in the final stages of getting the permit. In the position that we need to. As for the project, it's not going to slow the project down. We can start the drainage tile going in. We just have to be careful on the level as we approach 23 if we have to pull out and wait there. So we're comfortable with the timelines, and we are now comfortable with the communication that is going on with the MTO. There was a couple of weeks ago, we were really worried about the communication, but that has been cleared up and things seem to be positive there.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeff. Thanks.
Okay, and then we'll go to 9.3. And that was the letter from the resident, read the concern of removal of mature trees. Councillor Reagan.
So, Madam Mayor, you asked for that to be pulled as well. Did you want to speak to that first or may I? All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I was reading through the letter, just the concern about the removal of the trees, I guess my question would be perhaps for Ron, is just discussing what our replacement policy is, what the bylaws are that we have, maybe the ratio, the 2-to-1 ratio. I know that in 2019, we had a discussion about the trees because when we started there was some more development in the community. So when I first started, so about a year and a half in, and I remember we had a conversation about that, and we remember we talked about tree replacement. And I know correct me if I'm wrong, I think we follow the Middlesex County policy, the bylaw on tree replacement or tree cutting, actually. But what I'm just wondering is sort of what our ratio is, what our replacement policy is, and the suggestion about private property owners putting trees on their property and the placement of those, putting them on boulevards and that I was wondering if you could speak to that for us, please.
So through the mayor to the councillor, a bit of background. I believe our tree planting issues started in the early 2000s, I believe, and what council of the day decided to do was to basically not allow trees in the boulevard, and specifically the piece of land between the sidewalk and the curb, because that's not a large stretch. We didn't, the council again of the day, and I believe staff supported that decision. We didn't want a tree to be planted in that space when there's hydro, gas, phone, all these utilities are underneath. It's not a good place for a tree. And plus you fast forward that tree 15 years from now, it's going to be a decent size. It's going to start getting to the point where it's going to heave the sidewalk. So council decided to pass policy banning trees in the boulevard. I believe we updated that policy in 2011 and called it a boulevard garden policy. And it basically restricted not only trees, but any perennials or annual plants to a maximum height of 60 centimeters. And if you're on if you happen to be on a corner lot, it's actually 30 centimeters. And the reason for the lower height at the corners was for visibility reasons at intersections. So fast forward to 2019 and then again today, and I think, I'll ask Jeff to sort of jump in here, but we've kind of evolved, I think, from there, because not all boulevards have sidewalks either. So there are certain instances where we're encouraging and actually have done tree plantings in the boulevard, but it's very selective. Obviously we want, we're not anti-tree. We want more trees, but we just want a tree to be planted in the right location. So in our, if the person has a sidewalk and a curb in front of their place, it's probably better to plant that tree not in that little space where it's going to cause issues down the road. Move it 12 feet onto the person's front property where we never have to worry about it, where it doesn't have to get cut down when it's 40, 50 years old. So I think with the new subdivisions, we're trying to expand that because again, sidewalks aren't on both sides of the street typically. And so the side of the street that's not, hasn't got the sidewalk, it's a more appropriate spot for a tree. So I'll let Jeff jump in at this point here.
Yeah, and I think, Ron, we have started looking at the benefits of tree and tree canopy when it comes to, absorbing heat, taking away moisture or uploading moisture from our heavy soils and just providing, benefits to the community. So we're starting to look at this. So we have started looking at the new developments and how we can put trees in the boulevards in our developments when we're designing the streets. And we've just started doing that. I believe Old Clover was the first one on phase 4A. And the key to it is myself or Public Works reviews each location. So we look at where the water main is, where the water curb stops are, where the services are going into the house, and that sort of thing. And where would we be pushing the snow and turning corners and that sort of thing. So we actually okay the tree planting plan for the developer to fulfill. Once it goes into the development agreement, then we know we have those trees in the boulevard. Talking about older boulevards, we've always talked about if the municipality cuts a tree down, we do replace that tree. That's whether it's rural or urban. We do give a tree back to the landowner. We do ask them to plant it on their property, particularly in the rural area, because we have the ditches and that sort of thing. And there's a safety factor at the speeds at which you travel on the rural road. So it actually becomes more important when you're in the rural country where the trees go rather than in some of the maintenance or in some of the urban settings. And then the other item that, again, Public Works wants to see is the species of the tree that goes in. We want a species that we know will thrive on next to the road, whether it's salt, dust, pollution, that sort of thing. So we do have a list of trees. We are starting to, if someone wants to look at a tree, we'll be interested in taking a look at it for sure.
Right. No, thank you very much. That's good. I would imagine though that when we do that, we get an arborist report as well, like before we put our trees back. So we're putting the trees back that actually we're going to grow and the ones that are sort of native to the area.
Yeah, for the subdivision plans, there is a species that we use. It's a defined species list that we can go to. Yeah.
All right. I'm good. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thanks for all that background on this particular item of correspondence. But just in thinking for the future, do we actually have a tree canopy bylaw? Is that something that maybe we should be considered? I mean, we have done a lot of, I think that we have definitely increased our investment in trees over the last number of years. We've partnered with Upper Thames. I believe we're doing that again this year. And I would suggest that maybe at budget time, a report about that come to council. Perhaps maybe there's more interest of more of an investment in that Power Up program that we partner with Upper Thames on that. But I am curious about a tree canopy bylaw, if that would be something that would be appropriate for our municipality. And then I know you're working with like local developers when a new subdivision is coming, but have we thought about how trees would come into play when we're coming up? And I know we haven't done it yet, but we've talked about it. But our design standard bylaw, have we thought about how trees might be incorporated in that?
Yeah, so there's a lot, there's a lot there to unpack. The canopy bylaw, I'd be interested in looking into that and see where that would take us for sure. I'm a big believer. I'm a big believer in the trees that support a community. And just trying to make sure I get to to the points. The older or the established subdivisions, I think there is room to go back and look at some of the boulevards. We don't, again, it's a budgetary number to see exactly what council and what we can look at maybe putting back into the boulevards. I know in the past couple of years, we've concentrated more on trails and parks, and we've promoted maybe a little smaller type tree going in there rather than in a bigger boulevard tree. But that's certainly something that we could look at budget time to see what that would entail and how many trees that we could start a boulevard program with. You have to be careful because one neighbor would want a tree and the next neighbor won't. Or one neighbor has invested, thousands of dollars in landscaping, and we come along with a tree. I've seen that also where the next thing you know, they're cutting it down. So we have to be very careful on how we deal with older established boulevards. And I know there was one more question there. There was one more in there, the urban design. So council, we did talk about the urban designs, and we do need that. Through the it was on the agenda, I think, not last year, the year before, and it was come back to the budget, and we took it off the budget last year just because of financial pressures and that sort of thing. That was one of the items, I think, as a group, when we were talking about the budget, that was one we pulled out. It certainly can go back in. I think as developments are changing and the world is changing on thoughts on green infrastructure, it's certainly, and again, I think everybody would agree that we should have some of these design standards, and trees are one of them, is one of the aspects of it. It's just, again, it's a budgetary number that if we want to put it in and get those design standards going.
So I might then just suggest that staff put a note about bringing this up during budget time, because I think this would be a great conversation to have at that time. And then I guess when I am thinking though, in the moment, what a resident could do, how is it that we communicate with our residents if they did want to plant a tree, and maybe they did want to plant a tree in the boulevard? There's information on the website that we have that would direct them to call the office, because you've laid it out quite clearly that number one, we want to know the species and we want to know where it is and we want to work with a homeowner. But I don't know if we're getting that information out. I think we had an internal conversation earlier, and it's my understanding if you look at the information, you just think, okay, that's out of the question. I can't put a tree there. But perhaps maybe that is an option for a homeowner to put a tree in the boulevard. So we could maybe look at communication.
Yeah, through the chair, I was just going to say that. I think our messaging, when somebody does call in with a question about that, is going to change from this day forward. I know nobody likes to hear it depends, but it does depend. So, instead of saying a flat out, here's the policy, and they read the policy and it looks like it's a flat out no, I think from now on, it'll be, give us your address, your contact information, and somebody from Public Works will contact you and have a look. So it does depend on what's out in front of their property, where do they want to put it, those kinds of questions. So it's not a great answer, but it does depend on a number of factors, and it's going to be a site visit to figure that out. So.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just further to some of the comments that you and Councillor Regan made. I'm wondering if we can maybe have some direction to staff on this in looking at what our bylaw and policies are around this, and maybe bring a report back. And it might be one of those policies or bylaws that maybe needs to be brought up to current times or updated. We can do a kind of a jurisdictional scan. So I'm just wondering if that's something we provide direction through a motion or just okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you for that. And just to confirm, we are participating in the Upper Thames Power Up thing again in the fall. So
Yep, that's.
there'll be opportunity for homeowners to participate in that program too. Okay. Okay, that was 9.3, 9.6. And I think that was Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So 9.6, we have a letter from the Honorable Robert J. Flack, Minister of Municipal Affairs, regarding stormwater fees on agricultural properties. So the province wants to implement some changes to the regulations or to prevent municipalities from providing these fees for agricultural properties. And I wanted to just ask or confirm whether we currently do impose stormwater fees on ag properties and whether these changes may affect us.
Okay, and I think, is that Catherine or Jeff or combination?
I guess maybe I'll jump in. It's an interesting because this is an interesting letter for us. We still participate with the municipal drains. Lucan has 2 municipal drain or 3 municipal drains in it. Granton as well has 3 or 4 municipal drains. So the people, when it comes to, we don't charge a stormwater fee because they will get charged those municipal charges when we do work on the municipal drain. So at the present time, this letter really doesn't affect our municipality.
Yeah, thank you. And just to confirm, because we don't, do we have urban stormwater charges that we're collecting, like maybe based on the Watson study or something, or Stormwater Works currently?
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So then 9.7 is a letter from Wowsy to Minister Flack, and it has to do with Bill 100. And I think we've talked about it because there's been a number of, obviously I wanted this one pulled. There's been a lot of correspondence about this particular bill. It right now is in front of the committee, and I believe they're receiving this week public statements. But I was wondering, I would ask council if we could consider a motion supporting Wowsy's letter to Minister Flack. I think Bill 100 should be a concern for everybody. We've talked about it before. It shifts power from our local municipalities back to the province. And it allows, the province to determine rules, excuse me. And obviously this is at a higher level. It's primarily right now at regional level, but as to how votes happen, it certainly is a bill that threatens and weakens democracy. And I think we should all be concerned because as we've seen this government will start implementing things to one group and it gets expanded. And I think especially as a municipality involved in a 2-tier system, we should really be highlighted for this. So I did provide wording to Tina earlier as a potential motion of support that I would like council to consider. And I'm just pulling that up too. And so the wording would be that the Council of the Township of Lucan Biddulph supports the correspondence and request from the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus to the province to request that any changes involving upper tier municipalities maintain locally elected leadership as a cornerstone of municipal governance, recognize the distinct roles and structures of counties, regions, cities, and municipalities, reflect rural and region realities, including geography and service delivery responsibilities, and be developed in partnership with municipalities through meaningful consultation.
I'll make that motion.
So Councillor Regan will make it. Can I get a seconder for that one? Councillor Hodgins, is there any discussion on it? Nope. Okay, all in favor? And that's carried. So I think those are all the items that we wanted pulled. So I just need a mover and a seconder. And that's going to change that because we pulled 9.7, right? So that consent items 9.1 through 9.6 and 9.8 through 9.10 listed on May the 5th be received for information. Counselor Westman and Counselor Hodgins, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we're going to go back to our delegation since everybody's arrived. So Jason, I'll get you to come up. And you could have worn the hat. You know, we're all friends. Anyways, Jason, it's great to see you. It's always good when you come out to Lucan. I'll welcome you and turn the microphone over to you, and off you go.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm here today on behalf of the Middlesex Federation of Agriculture. We like to do this once a year where we just come out and tell you what's going on with us and give you the opportunity to ask us any questions that may go on so we can continue to build and maintain the relationship, that if any agricultural related issues come your way, that you hopefully would think of us and come to us for our input, and we can hopefully do what's best for everyone. Next slide. Okay, here are just some quick facts about agriculture in Middlesex County. There are 2,518 farms employing 27,000 people and producing 1.4 billion in farm cash receipts annually. The top three commodities in the county are grains, poultry, and hogs. And we strongly feel that strong agriculture leads to strong communities in rural Ontario. One of the biggest issues continues to be the need to protect farmland, such as Bill 21 Protect Our Food Act. And I know there's some people in the county now that are wanting to push what they call legacy lots in order to add more residences to some farm properties. We feel that we are opposed to this, as it would potentially just lead to more, eventually people wanting to do severances and leading to making it more difficult to build livestock facilities and stuff in the future with minimum distance requirements and such. And also we're keeping an eye with what's going on with the conservation authorities as they reduce down to an amalgamated smaller number. Need to make sure that the funding remains the same or increased. Agriculture land is very productive. It's essential, valuable, a finite and non-renewable resource, and once it's paved over, we can't get it back. We're one of only a very small number of countries in the world that have the ability to produce our own food. And with everything that's gone on the last 5 or 6 years with COVID, you can see like why we want to and need to make it a priority to maintain our self-sustainability. One of the current issues is the Cargill Sarnia plant is currently there's a couple of proposed residential developments in the neighborhood that are quite close to it. This plant handles 35% of Ontario's grain export and is a major importer of fertilizer for Lambton, Kent, and Middlesex counties, etc. And they're very concerned that if these residential developments go ahead, there will be dust and noise complaints and stuff, and it'll make it difficult for Cargill to operate to the point where we potentially risk losing that port, which we desperately do not want to happen. So currently, area federations and farmers are urging municipalities and Cargill to implement appropriate zoning buffers between the grain terminal and the surrounding sensitive land areas. Some things that are still required for supporting agriculture in Ontario are reliable broadband internet for business development and utilizing, and that's not just agriculture, that's really every industry that's going on in rural Ontario. Roads, bridges, culverts to transport farm equipment and distribute agricultural products, such as, it's not much of an issue in Biddulph per se, but when you're putting in roundabouts or traffic calming measures, you need to make sure that the equipment will be able to get around and through them, because that's been an issue in other areas. And always we're looking for more access to natural gas to maintain and attract more businesses, agriculture and non-agriculture to our areas. Wind towers continue to be something that pops up from time to time. The concrete bases are generally 3 to 4 meters deep in concrete with and rebar. Some of the landowner concerns are that there needs to be in the contract that when the towers reach their eventual end of life, that the whole base needs to be removed. The current proposal is to only remove 1 meter of concrete, which really would not be enough. It would still, like, yeah, it might be 10 years, 15 years, you might be fine, but at some point, somebody's gonna not know it's there and they'll hit it and it'll cause problems going forward. So we need to make sure that if we do go down the road of building more wind towers, that it needs to be a requirement to remove the entire base when these things each reach their end of life, because they will. On railway issue, there's currently been $45 million that's been allocated to improve safety nationally. But one of the major problems still going on is the railways refuse to acknowledge the Drainage Act and pay their share of the water costs and stuff for keeping the water away from the tracks. And farm crossing upgrade costs are currently another issue where the railway's not particularly interested in paying for the farm crossings, but we need to continue to make sure that that's good. And carrying on with railway is the proposed high-speed rail through Eastern from Toronto to Quebec City. The proposed Alto system would travel at 300 kilometers per hour. It would require a whole new dedicated fenced infrastructure that will require mostly overhead. I don't know, are they allowing underground crossings or would they all be overhead? Mostly overhead crossings, essentially like if you built the 401 through again, it's like, oh, here's, so which would be a major burden to all those communities of like, how many crossings do they get? Farms will be split up. It's going to be a big headache for a lot of people. Major impacts of farmland need to be resolved. The OFA is opposed to the Alto Rail, but we support a high frequency rail system that would use the current via rail lines that are in place. They could be upgraded a fair bit cheaper, and the train would still travel at 200 kilometers per hour instead of the 300 kilometers per hour. We could use the existing rail lines that are already there. And another thing that would help would be to find a way to prioritize passenger rail over freight, because currently all the freight trains get priority over the lines, which slows down passenger rail. If we could find a way, some sort of compromise where the passenger rail could get priority, that would hopefully be a way to increase transportation in that area without the burden and the cost of a whole new rail line. Battery energy storage systems are popping up more and more in the province. Just similar to the wind turbines, we need to keep an eye on the end of use plans, what's going to happen with them. It's estimated that Ontario will need to expand from 42,000 to 88,000 megawatts by 2050. There's just so many concerns with the battery storage units, fire suppression being a major one. Largely, if these things catch on fire, the fire departments are just told to let them burn, which releases a lot of not very nice chemicals into the air for the communities. And the possibility of leakage from the batteries into groundwater, the current proposals on the table could potentially cost us up to 2.2 million acres of land. Now, if that was all taking place on farmland, we only have 11 to 12 million acres of farmland in Ontario. That would be a big chunk of that. And this is from a cost of services study that the OFA originally was done in the US by the American Farmland Trust. And the OFA has conducted a few of these in the province as well. And we continually find that agriculture pays significantly more tax into the communities than they receive back in services. So we need to make sure that if we are taking away agriculture land and putting it into residential, that could potentially affect your budgets in a way that, like, it looks like more money coming in at the start, but you need to consider that the requirements and the costs of that agricultural land is fairly low compared to the costs to serve as a subdivision, et cetera. And there's a list of resources there that you can check out on your own, because I'm assuming this has been sent out to everyone ahead. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Jason, questions? Deputy Mayor Manders.
Thank you, Jason. That was a good presentation. The only thing, most of your slides and your concerns, you need collaboration with a lot of different government bodies and for consideration. The one slide that caught my attention was the wind towers. Just that makes total sense what you're saying, but that seems to be under the control of the farmer. Like, would they not sign the contract if they didn't remove the concrete base? When that, you must advocate that to the farmers then, because to preserve the land, because that slide is one slide that seems to be under the farmer's control. It makes sense.
On the case by case basis, it would be, but it would, as far as telling all the farmers this and making sure they actually get the contracts, it would be far easier to just, before the project gets approved in whole, to make sure that that's a requirement for all of them, as opposed to just hoping that each farmer goes through and does it. And you never know, all these contracts are going to be different.
Yeah. Again, my comment is certainly that slides can.
But
be more
no,
controlled.
the farmers absolutely need to
Can-
do their
can-
homework before.
Yeah, can control that. Just a comment. Thank you.
Hopefully they do.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to go back to the slide you had on Cargill, Sarnia.
Yep.
I'm just wondering, because the province is telling us to expand and grow and develop, and I'm just wondering, that plant is huge
Mhm.
and very important. And I'm just wondering what kind of support you have, like we have such locally from an MPP or from local politicians, like to sort of prevent this from happening again. It's a huge plant, right? And I just was wondering, like, I mean, it's a threat to having it closed down. So, I mean, is there what support is there for that? Or where are you getting any support?
Our OFA, the director for Middlesex Lambton, Micah Campbell, she would be able to answer better. Sure. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Micah Campbell. I'm actually the director for Lambton Middlesex, and I farm in Lambton County myself. So the Sarnia Cargill plant is about 20 minutes from my house, and I've been doing a lot of collaboration with Julie Ma from the Grain Farmers. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with her. She's a director at the provincial level with the Grain Farmers as well, and she's been working directly with Cargill Sarnia in regards to what farmers can do to assist in recognizing the need and the importance of Cargill Sarnia. We currently are in the process of, an MZO has been filed and comment period is supposed to open up this month. And we've been approaching other agricultural associations within the county as well as the municipalities. I know Wyoming has already spoken out against the development because they recognize the importance of Cargill being there. So going to your question, have we reached out or what have we done? We've reached out to the other associations, like I said, that when the period opens up to leave comments, that every agricultural association, as well as every farmer who potentially is going to be impacted by this, that they will speak out against the development. It's not that we're against developing houses and anything like that, because obviously we're all aware that we need housing. It is the fact that where they're planning the housing is directly across the road from Cargill and behind Cargill, I believe. And no matter what happens, the dust, the noise, anything like that will automatically be a violation of the noise and dust laws that are currently in place. So no matter what they put in place, Cargill will be violating those. And so, like I said, we have reached out to politicians. They're very well aware. We've reached out to Bob Bailey, Steve Binsino, Marilyn Gladue. And I think we are going to come at some point to a consensus that we are all going to be happy with. It's in the making, but we need to raise awareness around the fact that this is not going to be the only problem popping up like this, and that we need to have some sort of protection in place for the infrastructure that is already there. And we need to, moving forward, realize that we keep talking about having processing facilities within the province, but we need to protect the ones that we already have there as well. So I hope that answers your question. We are working with obviously everyone around that has a voice.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Any other questions? Councillor Westman, then Councillor Hodges.
Hello there, through you, Madam Mayor. I work in the agribusiness myself. I work for one of Canada's largest poultry processors. And I attended the politician forum, and I know consistently around the tables, one of the biggest concerns was getting enough people. And you know, we rely an awful lot on new Canadians coming in to work with us, and we struggle with their work permits getting canceled or suspended for no reason other than we've decided to change some factor of the qualifying jobs for permanent residency, right? So I don't know if that's affecting the family farms, but I know some of the larger operations are having a real hard time getting enough people and keeping them. So I know that you guys are big advocates of getting those laws, the immigration laws and so on stabilized so that we can actually get people and keep them. We find the resources are amazing when we get good people, then get them trained and spend all that time and money on them. We'd like to be able to keep them. So I hope that we're all able to work together to find some passage through this mess. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, thank you for your visit and presentation. I just noticed on slide 3, you mentioned conservation authorities and the forced amalgamation that's the province is going ahead with currently. And I know I sit on the board at the Sauble Bayfield Conservation Authority, and there's a lot of great collaborative partnerships that happen there with the agricultural community and the conservation authority, cover crops and protecting water quality and soil quality and managing flood risks. And yeah, just wondering what the Federation's thoughts are on the proposed amalgamation and how that may, impact those programs, just generally.
Yeah, I'll answer that one as well. We originally had commented on the amalgamation. We had hoped that it would be 19 versus the 9, I believe, that it currently now proposed. We had hoped that it was going to be similar to the source water protection organizations that are currently out there. Our request on behalf of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture is that there's going to be agricultural representation on these boards. There's a major concern by farmers that we are not going to have our voice heard and that there's going to be programs or implementations of programs that are going to drastically impact how farmers currently operate. So our biggest concern and our biggest request is that we have to have a certain number of agricultural seats within these conservation authorities. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're currently lobbying for on the amalgamation.
Great, thank you.
Jason, and it's the same slide, the same one that the conservation authorities and you referenced legacy laws.
Mhm.
And so that's a term I've never heard before. So how is that different than putting an ARU on a piece of property?
So that actually came up at our politicians forum, and it came through the warden, I believe. She mentioned it on her own that it was something she personally supported. I don't know if it was, I don't think it was from any further group than her own personal beliefs. But I'm sorry, was it, how's it any different?
No,
than-
like I just had never heard that term legacy lot. So it's a legacy lot. So if I have a 100-acre farm,
Mhm.
are you looking at, would a legacy lot be considered like a 5-acre parcel sort of thing? Or is it different than just putting like an additional residential unit on the property?
Additional residential unit. Oh, sorry. I don't need to have the night. Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Karen McLean. I am the Member Services Representative for the OFA in Lambton and Middlesex County. I believe the additional residential unit allows for another house to be built on the farm, but not severed. The legacy lot is a severed property. And the issue with that isn't, okay, so no, my kids are going to take over the farm. I still want to be there. I want to put a house at the corner. Typically, it's not very long before, say, the grandparent maybe moves into town type thing, and then that house gets sold. And unfortunately, a lot of times, the person who's buying it is not agriculture call it friendly or knowledgeable about agriculture practices in the area. And that's where the conflict starts. And so our goal really is to, carry on normal farming practices. And that's why we're saying we don't want to sever lots. A couple years ago, Doug Ford had a 3 lot and that he backed off on that. And that was simply because you can imagine a farm having 3 lots and potentially 3 people not understanding agriculture practices. And then, of course, the conflict that rises from that. So this is what we're trying to prevent.
Okay, no, I appreciate that clarification. So I guess just to jump off that, the OFA would still be supportive of having ARUs on
Yes.
property as a way to
The,
find more
the
housing,
legacy
that
lots
sort
were
of
meant
thing.
to be
Yeah.
essentially severable, so they could be owned by the, aside from the rest of the farm property, and that's where it becomes an issue.
Okay,
Mhm.
good. That's
But
it.
no, as far as like keeping more people on the farm, keeping multiple generations around, if a second residence is required for that, that does not require a severance, and we fully support that.
Yeah, and just to go back to Councillor Westman's comment about needing housing for offshore labor. I think the ARUs are also supposed to be there to build those additional units to house any offshore labor or any labor in general
Yeah.
that we're currently having a using housing shortage, huge housing shortage of.
That's a good point. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, well, thank you. And all 3 of you participated, so that's great. You were going to be quiet in the background, but no. Anyways, thank you for coming. It was great seeing you and safe travels. Yeah, thanks. With that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder just to receive that presentation for information, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Great. Okay. All right. So continuing on with the agenda, we're now into correspondence. There's a few resolutions that have been received. Did council want to speak to any of them? Okay, if not, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive and file those items, please. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that's carried. Committee reports, Blue Water,
Nothing to report.
CEDC. Except the annual report is there for anybody's information, just, yeah. CEDC.
Nothing at this time, Madam Mayor.
Okay, nothing from Lake Huron, nothing from Fire Boards, ABCA.
Nothing to report.
Parks and Recreation,
We will be meeting on May 21st. I'll have a report for council after that.
Trails and Connectivity.
Nothing.
Staff reports. Ron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report before council today is in regards to the establishment of a joint compliance audit committee. This is one that we deal with every election cycle. This one has been done before. In this form, it's going to be a little bit different. Prior to this one, we basically fell under the umbrella of the county, and the county partnered with the City of London for a joint committee. This one, I believe, is just going to be the county. I think there's maybe, and I'm looking to Lisa because Lisa actually did the report, but I believe there's still a possibility it might be the same people that sit on both. But we're doing this one a little bit differently. The county is leading the charge on this. It is a requirement under the Municipal Election Act to establish this. So we are required to do this. The report basically outlines the composition of it. There will be a minimum of 3, maximum of 7 people. The costs are going to be shared across all the lower tiers in the county for the initial training. And if there is a complaint in regards to any potential candidate within Lucan Biddulph, the committee gets called together and those costs will be assumed by the municipality in which the complaint was registered. So it's fairly straightforward. I think it's self-explanatory there. I won't go into detail and bore everybody, but if there's any questions, either myself or Lisa would be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you for that. Questions on this one? Okay, so you have a recommended motion in front of you, a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Hodgins and Deputy Mayor Manders. All in favor? And that's carried. I don't think you had anything else. No.
No, just a reminder for those.
In Glencoe. Okay, finance, Catherine.
Thank you. I apologize in advance if my voice gives out. I've been dealing with this for the last week. I'll do my best. So the first report I have is regarding the ICI recycling transition and cost recovery. So ICI is the industrial, commercial, and institutional properties. And if you remember, early in March, we had Blue Water Recycling here, and she did a wonderful presentation about this program and some of the issues surrounding it. So I attached that presentation to this as well, or you can go back and review that meeting. So what we have to do, what council needs to decide is how to move forward for 2027 regarding this program. These are the bins you'll see that have the red lids out in the community, and the pickup is bi-weekly on Tuesdays. So Blue Water Recycling came up with the cost of what these bins would be, and it's about $160 per bin for the year to offer this service. So Blue Water Recycling wants to know if council would like to, how they want to proceed. So there's 3 options on the table. One is to maintain the current service model and absorb the cost of the tax base. So for last year and this year, the small cost is part of the being absorbed by the tax base. And the remainder in 2026 is being absorbed by Blue Water Recycling. But for 2027, they're no longer going to do that. So we can either maintain and cover by the tax base or implement a cost recovery through user fees, essentially pass that $160 off to those that have the bins, or not offer the ICI recycling services in the township. So the recommendation is to implement the cost recovery program. I think that's the most fair approach as well for all ratepayers and the users. That's how we do it with the waste collection. So we'll proceed on. That's the recommendation, is to do that. Because Blue Water Recycling wanted a decision before the end of June so that they can plan accordingly for 2027. So that's there's more information in the report there. I know there's we have about 70 bins in the municipality, and so the total cost is around $11,000, but we do have 5 bins that are under the control of or at our own facilities, so that would be part of the tax base, but that's minimal at this point. So I look to council for a decision on this.
Okay, thank you very much, Catherine. Comments on this report? Deputy Mayor Manders.
Yeah, no, I like Catherine's suggestion, and I think someone mentioned even here, or as Blue Water Recycling talks to the ICI users, that again, there's a way to, we may even reduce our bins here. I don't know if we use them all fully. How many did you say we have here on the site?
Currently, we have 1. We did have 2 or 3.
Oh, so you've already reduced it.
So we already put one
okay.
away.
Yeah.
The other ones, there's 2 at Granton Park and 1 at each of the fire halls.
Okay, no, you've already reduced it here. So there will be options, obviously, and again, I think hopefully it's interesting. It's the province has implemented this change, which Blue Water Recycling has to adapt to, which we have to bill for. But so it's an interesting how the messaging is going to be important. And will you be the one? I forget now. Will we be the ones reaching out if we proceed and pass your recommendation? Will it be yourself and Michelle, or will it be you'll let Michelle know and then she'll give each ICI address and options, because if they have multiple bins, they're not using them, they can reduce them, or they can go to a larger a container too, I believe. And if they were using 10 bins, then they might go to a container that's the least expensive for them. I'm assuming that'd be Blue Water Recycling working with each ICI. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, but I'll reach out to Michelle and confirm that so that communication does go out well in advance of this
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, and explaining it. Yep, that's just, I am in support of the recommendation.
Any other comments? Councillor Hodgins?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'm certainly in support of the recommendation. I think the other two options wouldn't really fly. I'm just looking, I was looking back at the presentation that was provided by Blue Water, and I think at that time they were a little bit uncertain on what the costs were going to be. They thought it might double or even triple for 2027 services from the 7140 previous cost. And so they've landed on $160 and per bin per year. And I'm just wondering, you know, maybe in the future, as they do this new operation, that cost could potentially change, like higher or lower, depending on how the operation actually goes. Or is the $160, that is like the cost per bin per year for each ICI property, and that guarantees them service throughout the year. And I guess, do we have a sense from Blue Water, you know, for future years, that cost could go up, it could go down depending on how the service goes?
Catherine can maybe correct me or whatever she wants to do. But we've been doing this year, so they've been able to, so we have to send a different truck. This is how asinine this is. So we, as you know, we pick up the recycling and garbage at the residences, and then it's a separate day the truck has to travel for ICI. So then they have been able to track the cost. So at least to your point, they're not all of a sudden sending the truck out January 1 and hoping 160 is the number. So they've had the 6 months of being able to track manpower and fuel and expense and time to do that. So that's how they've come up with that number. And I do feel confident that it's not going to, you know, vary much. So, and Catherine can add to that, but.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, that's it. Any other comments? Okay, so you have a recommended motion in front of you that the report be received and that council approve the implementation of cost recovery for the ICI recycling, and that council direct staff to advise Blue Water of this approach, and that council direct staff to incorporate the 2027 ICI bin rate of $160 into the 2027 budget and levy. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Hodgins and Deputy Mayor Manders, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, next report.
The second report is for information. It's the budget actual for the first quarter of 2026. So in the summary, I made a few comments in there. It's a little early in the year. A lot of programs haven't started and that sort of thing. And then probably what happened the most would be our winter, and we've used about 38% of the winter budget. So hopefully that's a little more than what we might want to, but we'll see what the next winter brings. But I remember I said that last year and look what happened. So maybe I shouldn't say anything.
I was just to say, maybe we just don't talk about it.
Yeah, so, and then there's the details there. And of course, anytime you have any questions or concerns, you can come and ask me if you don't understand where something belongs or that sort of thing. But a rule of thumb I've used, if we're about a quarter of the way into our year at that point, if we're in that budget time frame, then it's for usage, then it's a good indication. So a little early in the year to make comments of where we'll end at the end. But any questions?
Okay, thank you for that, Catherine. Any questions or comments on the Q1 financials submitted? Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much for the report. there were just a couple line items I wanted to just ask about. So going to the detailed budget sheet, attachment 2 on page 6, just when we get into our repair and maintenance for some of our I guess fleet and public works equipment. Just on the trackless unit and the backhoe, I just see we've had some pretty big expenses there on repairs and maintenance, and just wondering if we get some background maybe on some unforeseen repairs that were needed, and maybe looking forward, are these older units that we're looking to replace in the future?
Yeah, I can answer that. So those two items, I'll start with the trackless. Obviously, it's used a lot during the winter. So the repair bills will be up for the winter season. What we did have is we had the clutch plate go out of the trackless this winter, so it was a very major repair. It had to actually go to the factory to get repaired. We actually rented a unit for 2 weeks while that unit was being repaired. So that's the reason why that's escalated as much as it has. And as for the backhoe, I saw the number and I was a little surprised. So I actually did look it up when I saw that number. We did, part of the life of the backhoe is to plow the parking lots. And to plow the parking lots, we have a plow or a blade that goes on the front of the backhoe. We lost, they call it an accumulator, which is like a hydraulic motor that turns the doors on the sides off and on. The accumulator was a little over $3,000 to replace. So that was one of the repairs. And the other big repair on the backhoe was the back tires. It was time to replace the back tires. And again, that was close to $3,500 on the backhoe. So between those two repairs, the backhoe has gone over.
So, yeah, thank you very much for that. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
So just jumping off that, so the trackless, is the rental for the other one included in that line item?
I'd have to be honest, I'd have to go back through the totals on it, but yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, then we have a motion in front of us to receive that for information. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Regan and Deputy Mayor Manders, all in favor? And that's carried. And your third report.
Thank you. So jumping back to 2025 now, this is regarding the anticipated surplus for 2025. So the auditors were here and did some work last week, and we came up with an approximate number of $225,000 surplus for 2025. So in order to close out the financial statements and be prepared for the June 2nd presentation, we would like to know where council would like to place that surplus. The recommendation that I have is go to the tax rate stabilization reserve because it's been depleted over the last couple of budgets.
Okay, thank you for that. Discussion on the recommendation in front of us. Councillor Westman.
Yeah, I'd be in support of that. I think that's probably the most responsible place to put it, so.
Deputy Mayor Manders.
Yeah, no, I agree with the recommendation. I just think it's for our ratepayers, that's where it should go, and to help stabilize it in the future taxes. Thank you.
Okay. There's no further discussion. You've got the recommended motion in front of you. And that is to receive the report and to direct the treasurer to allocate the 2025 general surplus to the tax rate stabilization reserve. A mover and a seconder, Councillor Westman and Deputy Mayor Manders. All in favor? And that's carried. Anything verbal?
Just a reminder that the next property tax installment is due the end of May, end of this month.
Okay, great, thanks. I know you don't have any reports. Jeff, did you have anything verbal to add? No, nothing. Darcy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. My first report is on the Hockey Academy rental request and the discount consideration to that. I laid out in my report kind of the background of where the Hockey Academy came from, what it's planning to do, and what kind of utilization we'll have. As you'll notice, my recommendation is to not approve a discount at this time. Part of that is that we do get a lot of rentals and we do get a lot of requests for discounts that we don't do, as well as the rates that we are giving is a non-prime rate, as well as youth sport rate. So they are both discounted rates that are used for those exact rentals. But however, I did lay out some options if council was to proceed with the discount, what a couple options might be. So that's down in my in the bottom of my report there. So I'm gladly take any questions and discussion from council.
Okay, thank you for that. Darcy, questions or comments from council? I might just kick it off. I do have a question. I mean, I think this is a great opportunity for not only the facility, but the community as a whole to have this kind of I guess a school, an academy, I guess they're calling it a proposed hockey academy in the community, certainly highlight our great facility. And I'm assuming that you're working with the director on the appropriate use of the building. I guess the one area that concerns me is the active living, the seniors center, because I know that that's booked, for the Sunshine Club and that sort of thing, and you're going to be able to accommodate, whatever the community needs, as well as what this academy will be able to use.
Yes, you, Madam Mayor. Yes, so we feel pretty comfortable. Most of his time in the active living center is first thing in the morning, so the first 2 hours, as well as he has been able to be very flexible with us. If we need to use the mezzanine one day, we'll use the mezzanine. But for the most part, we do feel he has a contract in front of him that didn't have any issues with what we already had rented. As well as with the new multi-purpose room, it does give us some more areas to use during the day. Like he'll be using the active living center and the gym basically between the hours of 9 and 12 or 9 and 1, and then he'll be on the ice from 1 till 3, and then it'll be done. So it won't affect any of the night, and they're taking their stuff with them, so there's nothing that needs to stay overnight. So it won't affect any of the nighttime. Plus, like the seniors cards won't be affected, anything like that. So
And then with all the seniors fitness as well in the gym, you're able to manipulate that schedule as well.
yeah, right now our schedule would be that they would be in the active living center while the fitness and pickleball is going on. They'd move the gym as soon as pickleball is over, and then so we were able to accommodate, and his flexible schedule was able to help that. So we were able to work it out.
I guess for me, and I'm looking at my colleagues, I would be interested in offering a discount on a term basis, initially for the first year. Maybe not the 20%. I would look forward to a conversation of a 10 or 15% discount. And I guess I think because it is a new concept in our community, there's no competition from anything else that's being offered in our community. He's a local business person, and it may be a way that we can support this. And as I say, for a year during the trial for a trial period. So that's where my head is at, and I'm curious to see what my colleagues think. Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you. I was kind of having the same thoughts that you were having, and we don't have the benefit of having the proponent here to ask questions. From my perspective, I was thinking I would hate to see this opportunity not go ahead on the basis of, it not working out financially, or not being financially feasible without the discount. So I'm certainly open to the option as you've outlined it. I was thinking as well, maybe of meeting somewhere in the middle at maybe a 10% discount. I think it's a great, a new program that could be available to youth in the community, and it just seems like a great opportunity that I wouldn't want to miss out on. So I would be supportive of it on some discount on a 1-year sort of pilot project basis.
Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to echo what Councillor Hodgson said. I think it's a very good opportunity. I think it's again, it's a local business person. They're starting up. And my understanding too, it's all like local in the area is what this is going to be for. And I was just wondering too, that normally the ice would not be used at that time anyway. Is that correct? Or is that Darcy? Sorry.
Through you, Madam Mayor, for the most part, the 1 to 3 time we get the odd ticket ice rental, but yeah, most of it is non-utilized ice. Yep.
So I just see this as an opportunity to use all parts of our community center and generate some revenue. So I'd be supportive of the 10% or 15%. Yes, I would support that.
Any other comments from council? Deputy Mayor Manders.
Yeah, I can't find myself supporting a reduction. I just, as a for-profit organization, it is for elite. There is no parameters around locals, so I don't know where we're getting this. He's local, but they're certainly not geared to local kids. Whether there is a local child or not, I don't know. We are given a non-prime rate, and I mean, right now our levy's at 57%, so all I can do is go off averages. So currently, right now, he's getting 50% paid for by our ratepayers, as it is. 'Cause that's all I can do is go by averages. So our ratepayers are pitching in 57%. We're giving them non-prime rate. It's a for-profit organization. They've been advertising for some time, but I support Darcy's recommendation, but a reduction, I won't be voting on that. Thank you.
And any other comments? Okay, I guess we're looking for a motion. I would have to leave the chair to make the motion, or I would look my colleagues to make a motion. And I would just look for that, unless you want me to leave the chair. Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will take a crack at it. Just kind of going back to my comments earlier and other comments I've heard. Sorry, I'm just looking at the 3 options in the report. Yeah, I would put forward option B, approval of a discount. I'm going to propose to be at 10% on applicable rentals for a 1-year pilot term.
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Councillor Regan. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? And that is carried. Okay. And your next report, Darcy.
Through you, Madam Mayor, next report is the community-led dog park revitalization project. I did lay out kind of where we got. I know it was discussed at budget time back in 2025 budget discussions, that this individual was actively working on a fundraiser that has really came to fruition just lately with a couple big donors. So meeting with them, they had a plan in place of what they kind of want to do with the money they have now. And then we kind of spoke, and we think he still wants to keep the ball rolling, which is great. I think it is a great project and a great initiative for the community. But I think between the two of us, we talked, and we think it's best that the municipality now take the money going forward. Talking to Catherine, probably easiest to build a reserve within our budget and have it there for the dog park project. So my recommendation is that we endorse the project. We work with them to put up the stage structure that they fundraise for now, and as well as establish a reserve so that we can take donations going forward.
Thank you for that, Darcy. Comment on this report. Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So first of all, I think it's great to see all of these people and all these partners working together to get this done. It's what we do in our township. My question really just is for Darcy. It's just about the installation of the project going forward. I'm not sure if we're having staff build this, or are we going to get someone else to build it, because it's a structure on township land, and I'm just concerned about that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yeah, we would get a contractor, a licensed contractor to do it through the money that they've raised, paid for a local contractor to do it.
All right, okay, thank you. No, again, this is just, I think this is a great project. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree. Great project. Great to see this kind of grassroots fundraising for this. I guess I was wondering if, well, I was thinking maybe there was some concern with establishing a new reserve fund. And I'm just wondering, are we talking about like an official reserve that we would see on our budget table of different reserve accounts, one for this specific project? And I just know that we are cautious about having too many reserve accounts. And is this an official reserve account like that, or is it kind of handled more administratively?
So if we set up a reserve account, then yes, it would show up in that schedule of reserves that we show you at budget time and throughout the year. Thought that'd be the most transparent way of showing that to council or keep it top of mind. If council's like that, the other option, we can set up a deferred revenue account that's kept in our books and set to be mindful to be watchful of that, but council probably wouldn't have as much visibility to see what's in that account. Unless they ask, or we need a report or something following that.
Okay, thank you. I guess it'd be great to see this keep going on year after year, but I'm just kind of wondering if we really need to have that formal reserve account. So maybe I'll see if there's any other comments about that. And I was just wondering, just looking in the report about future phases and long-term vision, I see there's some a comment there about tree planting to enhance natural shade and canopy coverage. And I just wondered if that's something that maybe the township may be able to, expedite or bring forward a bit sooner, just to get some plantings out there and get things progressing in that regard.
Okay. I'm looking at
Yeah,
Darcy.
through you, Madam Mayor, we definitely can. We do have a budget for tree planting. We normally work with ABCA and we plant some fairly small trees that wouldn't be the best in the dog park just because of the urine from the dog usually doesn't do very good with the smaller trees. But we could put some money of the tree budget to get some bigger trees in there that would hopefully last in the dog park. But I do know that is one thing with this group that they're really pushing for next is to get some trees and some canopies, so.
Okay, thank you. We'll leave it there.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the report? Okay, so, but Councillor Hodgins has brought up a concern about maybe another reserve. But yeah.
So I wouldn't mind maybe, like, it sounds like which is awesome. Shout out to Ian and the supporters of that. But I think keeping it as simple as we can for our staff and us not needing to be involved and have eyeballs on it all the time. I don't think it's as important because I think they've got projects and they seem to want to do it and it'll be money in and out. So I'm not sure the terminology she used there on, there would be something there if we want to ask for it, if we want to see it, but it's not like I don't want to see future council moving it on this group neither. And, when it's in reserves, we have the opportunity to move it into other spots. And I'm certainly excited to see their initiative on their own take this on. And I kind of like the idea of it just kind of being between our staff and them for now anyways, for now.
So I just wanted to clarify, it's not a separate bank account per se. It's just a separate, it's in the same account, but Treasury has it itemized to the various different reserves. Like we have an administration reserve, we have all these reserves that make up the total. So I just want to make sure that Councillor Hodgins, you understand, it's not a separate bank account. It's not like we're establishing a separate bank account. It's within the reserves, but it is broken down and the Treasury can keep track of that quite easy.
We could do the same thing with deferred revenue. It's just not showing up on that sheet, but to Deputy Mayor Mander's point is that, yes, you could move that money around, because that's not an obligatory reserve, then it would just be, unless you make it that way, but you can move those monies around, basically. Unless you establish it as saying this is only what it's for and can't move it, but we can certainly keep track of it in a deferred revenue account. And we do analysis on that every month. And then if council wants an update every year on what's in there or something, then that's possibly too.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you, through you. I think, yeah, I'm leaning towards, I'm picturing that reserve sheet and adding another column and, over time, whether it's appropriate to have that. I mean, it really could fall in with one of the other reserves, but I understand, with this being a donation and or the fundraising, they want it to remain transparent and not get missed. It sounds like there's a way to track this through deferred revenue, and I trust that our staff, will be able to stay on top of that. So I would propose that we amend the recommendation, provided that this is going to be agreeable to the Ian and the team there, that that we just establish the reserve through deferred revenue.
Okay. I guess the thing is, we all want this to be as easy for staff as possible because this is a community-led initiative and we still want the community to lead the initiative. And but it still needs to be transparent because obviously if we're collecting the money, we want to make sure that the community is comfortable that the money is actually going to go to that. What is the easiest way for you to be able to track the money and to be able to do that? Because I think that's what we've got to drill down on.
Either one is fine with me. It just goes into, like, if you want to be simplified, then deferred revenue, it's fine. And then if anyone has a question, what's in it, we can easily pull that up and say, this is what we have.
Okay.
And
Okay,
it's fine.
and we won't lose sight of it that way either. That's the other thing too, right? Is that we know that X amount of dollars will be earmarked for the dog park project.
So we have something similar for Santa Claus Parade, a couple other things in there too that we have. I just make sure I add this one to my monthly analysis, and it's more on the balance sheet, so it doesn't show up in our budget actual, but if there's ever a question, it's easily brought up, so.
So if we changed it, the motion to direct staff to account for and receive and hold future donations, is that okay?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. To account for, rather than establish a reserve fund. Okay, you got that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Mover and a seconder then, Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that's carried. And I think the big discussion out of this is that congratulations to the community for taking on and having the success so far that they've had. So thank you. Did you have anything further verbal, Darcy? Okay. Lisa, nothing? Okay. Other business, if you've got something that you want added to other business, let Tina know. So it occurred to me that, and it was funny, it was we're on to Councillor comments now. When I started the meeting and Councillor Regan said, oh, it came up too fast because I didn't start my opening remarks that I usually have. And I can't let these go by because it's the first week of May and there's a lot of things that get recognized the first week of May. And they're all great initiatives, but I've never spoken about the fact that the first week of May is Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And so this is an annual recognition that highlights the vital role that municipal clerks play in ensuring the transparency, accountability, and effective operation of local government. I would think you would all agree with me that the clerk's department is the backbone of municipal administration. It's responsible for maintaining official records, supporting council and committee meetings, overseeing legislative processes, and helps ensure that decisions are made in accordance with our local bylaws, provincial laws, and procedures. Their work often happens behind the scenes, although Ron and Tina are here front and center at our council meetings, but it is essential to the continuity of the business of the municipality. So we are fortunate to have Ron and Tina, who are supported by Maggie and I dare say the rest of the staff, for carrying out the responsibilities of the clerk's department with diligence, integrity, and a strong commitment to public service. As councillors, we are aware of the importance of this department, and this week does serve as an opportunity for communities to acknowledge the professionalism of staff who act as a link between our residents and the business that the municipality goes through. So thank you very much to our clerk's department. Any other councillor comments? Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I may, I was just have a really quick report just from OSAM. So I was at the conference, and just a couple of things. A couple of themes that came through, I just think are important for us. One of the big saying was nothing about us without us, and they were talking about how sometimes the province makes decisions and not consulting small municipalities, small urban centers, and rural areas as well. So they were talking a lot about, during the keynote speaker was talking a lot about what we need to look for in the future is about a new support for us. And it seems that there's a lot of things now that small municipalities have to pay for that we didn't have to pay for before. So there's this push now. And we didn't hear from Mr. Ford at the conference. He was unavailable, but it was just kind of interesting that whole theme now, and it seemed to be a lot of frustration from a lot of municipalities, smaller municipalities, just seem to be feeling like they're being left out. So expect a push. I would think that's what I'm hearing. Expect a push to be heard is what sort of the main theme was after that. And I just wanted to let you know, but it was a good conference, and thanks for sending me.
Glad you had a good time there. Any other councillor comments? Okay, with that, we've got 3 bylaws in front of us. And so the motion in front of us is that bylaws 19-2025, 20-2026, and 202-2026 be read a first, second, third, and final time and be adopted. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that's carried. And resolved that the council meeting be adjourned at 7:28. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. And we